Once upon a time, there was a cottage at the edge of a wood, and there was a little cottage right in the centre, and between the two there was a winding path. Here there lived a little old lady, and here there lived a mother and her daughter, and everybody called her Little Red Riding Hood, because of the hood and the cloak that she always wore. One day, Mother said to Little Red Riding Hood, "Grandma is sick. Take her some treats. Help make her feel better." So Little Red Riding Hood took a basket and she looked around the shelves in the kitchen and she saw some of this, and she put it in the basket. Ooh, some of that, and she put it in the basket, and yes, some of this and that, one of those, one of these, until the basket was full of good treats. She picked up the basket, she waved goodbye to her mother, and off she went into the forest. When she got in the deep dark wood, she began to tremble. Her heart began to beat, pitter-patter, 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 pitter-patter. The wood was so dark. There were noises in the wood that she hadn't heard before. And the path, she didn't remember it being so twisted before. And there ahead, there on the path, there was a shadowy shape. It had great hairy ears. It had big bright eyes. It had sharp teeth and a lolling pink tongue, and she could hear its belly rumbling. It was the big bad wolf, and he was hungry. The wolf looked at Little Red Riding Hood and spoke to her. "And where might you be going?" he said. And Little Red Riding Hood said, "I'm going to Grandma's. She's not well. I'm taking her treats to make her feel better." And the wolf, he laughed a horrible kind of laugh, and he said, "Well, why don't you pick her some flowers? I think she'd like that." Little Red Riding Hood thought that was a very good idea. She could get away from the wolf and she could pick some flowers. She stepped off the path. She walked between the trees. She saw flowers growing everywhere. One red, one yellow, one pink, one blue, till she had an arm full of flowers. But the big bad wolf did not wait. He dropped down to all fours. He began running and running and running, his great tail swishing the dried leaves on the path till he got to Grandma's house. He bang, bang, banged on the door, and Grandma said, "Come in, Little Red Riding Hood," and he threw the door open. He looked at Grandma, his belly rumbled, and he said, "I'm going to eat you." Grandma didn't want to be eaten. She slid between his legs and out of the cottage. She began to run. "Run, Grandma, run! Ha, ha, ha!" The big bad wolf came after her. Ha, ha, ha! Grandma ran. Ha! The big bad wolf. Ha! Grandma ran. Ah! The big bad wolf stepped on the back of her skirt. And then he opened his jaws wide and he swallowed Grandma in one great gulp. And then he went into the cottage. And then he put on her pyjamas. And then he put on her cap and her glasses. And then he climbed in the bed, pulled the covers up to his chin. "Now," said the wolf, "now I will be Grandma." Little Red Riding Hood got to the door of the cottage and she tapped, rat-a-tat-tat. "Come in, Little Red Riding Hood," said the wolf. And Little Red Riding Hood pushed open the door. She looked at the grandma in the bed and she said, "Oh, Grandma, what great big ears you have." And the wolf in the bed said, "All the better, all the better to hear you with, my dear." Little Red Riding Hood went a little closer. "Oh, Grandma," she said, "what great big eyes you have." And the wolf in the bed said, "All the better to see you with, my dear." And Little Red Riding Hood went a little closer. "Oh, Grandma," she said, "what great big teeth you have." "All the better," said the wolf, "to eat you with, my dear." He threw back the covers. Little Red Riding Hood dropped all the flowers. She turned to run, but the big bad wolf stepped on the back of her dress, opened his jaws wide and he swallowed Little Red Riding Hood in one great gulp. But before she was swallowed, Little Red Riding Hood had let out a cry. "Ah!" It went out of the door, bounced from tree to tree. "Ah, ah, ah, ah." And the woodcutter in the woods had heard it. And he picked up his great chopper. He came striding through the woods. He came to Grandma's house. He kicked open that door wide. Looked down. There was the wolf with the bulging belly. Dragged him outside. He swung his axe 3 times around his head and whoosh, sliced open the belly of the wolf. And out of the belly of the wolf came a sticky old lady, Grandma. Out from the belly of the wolf came a sticky little girl, Little Red Riding Hood. And at the end of the story, Grandma is saved. Little Red Riding Hood is saved. The woodcutter is the hero of the day. And the big bad wolf is dead.